Good morning. How are you today? I've come on here because I want to share a story with you, my story about anxiety. Now, I've put this Facebook Live off for quite a few days now because the thought of sharing my story with everybody else, putting it out there for everyone to hear and to know what I'm going through is not easy, and that in itself has caused some sort of internal disrupt. So anxiety is not something that I've always had. It's not something that I was born with. It happened when I had my spiritual awakening. And while that was I thought that was fantastic, along came what was perceived to be the downside, which is anxiety. Now, it pretty much came on straight away, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know much about it. But all I knew, hi Catherine, all I knew is that I didn't like it. So I struggled with it on my own, and it very quickly escalated and got worse and worse. I struggled with it on my own, and then I called in a lot of my spiritual friends for help, and they were fantastic. They gave me lots of tools to work with, and I got healings, and they were on the phone talking to me. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel any different. I couldn't stop the anxiety coming on. And it was debilitating. Life was actually getting worse at one point. As most things do, they have to get worse before they get better. And hi Julie. So in my main reason, the main way it affected me was in my driving. I all of a sudden was really uncomfortable driving, really nervous, didn't want to jump in the car. But I was working, I had children, I had to. But the anxiety over just that thought of having to get in that car was enormous. And even when I got to my destination, there really wasn't any relief that had actually arrived, because I then had to get back in that car and come home, or get back in the car again the next day and do it all again. So my anxiety level was always on alert, always on high. And I scrounged around in my head thinking, where has this come from? What has happened in my life to suddenly bring this on? And at the time, I didn't really know. And then it affected me in lots of other ways. It would just come on for no reason. My mind would grab onto anything that was just a hint of things not right, or even things that were okay. In my mind, they weren't. So I would go into a full-blown panic attack as well. Until it got to the point where for 4 weeks, I couldn't do anything. I could not drive. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't eating. Nothing. I couldn't do anything. And it just got worse and worse. And I think, obviously because you're not sleeping, things are really out of proportion, and I'd lost my perception. But I just still had to go through the motions each day of doing the best that I could do. And that was all I could do, was to get through the day. I found at that time keeping my page going was what kept me grounded, because as much as it took me a long time to get the star signs written up, it gave me some point of focus, something to keep my mind occupied on that was constructive, rather than those racing thoughts of anything that could go wrong, anything that may have been going wrong, and that wasn't right. So that lasted 4 weeks, and it just left as quickly as it started. And have been working with my anxiety ever since. So I've tried lots of different practitioners, healers, with all their different modalities. And at the end of the day, no matter what they promised, I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel any different. I might have had some light bulb moments and some insights, but at the end of the day, nothing was working. Nothing was different within me. So I decided that it was up to me. I had to take my own health and healing into my own hands and find what was right for me, rather than trying to rely on somebody else. And maybe for me that was the lesson, or one of the many lessons that I've to learn with this anxiety. At the time, is to take back that control that anxiety takes from you. It takes away all your personal power and all your control if you give it that power. And that is what I was doing. I was giving it that power. So I've listened to so many podcasts, so many YouTube videos, people speaking, read up on lots of information, and I've had to pluck out all the things that I deemed that felt right for me. And everything was trial and error, because what works for me may not work for you. What works today may not work tomorrow. It just depended on where I was at the time and what I could manage and what I could do. So it's been a long-running battle with anxiety, and I'm nowhere near the end of it. But it's something that I work with and is on my mind each and every day. How I live my life, the things that I do, the thoughts that I think are all revolving around my anxiety. And yes, some days it's about how to keep it at bay. Some days it's about how not to bring it on. And other days it's about the positive side of what I'm doing for me, to look after me and be the best person that I can be. I also spend a lot of time just searching for the why. Why me? Why now? Why? And it wasn't until maybe a year ago I came to the realization, because someone had planted the seed about dimming your light. And it took me a little while to work out what that actually meant. But for me, my anxiety means to me, if I'm anxious and I can't drive, I can't extend my business. I have to work from home and I have to work online. I can't be out there helping and serving many, many more people. I can't go out there and spend time with friends unless they pick me up or they come to my place. I can't go out there and form connections, relationships. I can't go out there and just live, let's say, a normal or usual life like everybody else does on the weekend. Everything that I do has to have a plan, has to be worked around. It's not just a simple, this is happening, I want to go, and I go. It's unfortunately not been like that. So I've had to learn to manage it. So with these many years of having to deal with this anxiety and put my kids, my family through all of this, because it's not just me that suffers, it's my kids as well. Having to tell them, no, I can't drive you here. Pushing my fears and worries onto them as well. And they have no idea what goes on because they don't know what anxiety is. They don't experience it. They have no concept. So, Mum, what's your problem? So that in itself raises other issues about, am I going crazy? Why am I like this? How can I stop that? All those thoughts that are demeaning about myself, the things that that self-talk is terrible. So I've had to learn to find perspective. And I think that's one of the main things, to realise how you can change what is happening to you. And it just starts with making that decision that I want to change. I want to change this, and I want to be the one that's in control, not the anxiety controlling me. So through my journey of self-healing, self-exploring, I've come up with this wonderful program about helping others with anxiety. So it's a 3-week intensive program where we jump on a call together for the initial part, and we just have a quick chat about what's going on for you. And then for the next 21 days, we will then, I will send you information. On each day, it will be something different. So while I have a very basic program for you for the 21 days, it is then tailored after our first conversation specifically for you, because everybody's suffering of anxiety is different. Everybody needs different methods of support. Other people, it affects them differently. So one doesn't always fit for another. And also the guide that I have, even though we might stick to the same regime, we might tailor that specific days a little bit more specifically. So we need to look at things like food. Now, it's not necessarily about a diet, because the food that we put in our bodies, food and the beverages we put in our bodies, is all about feeding our brain. And we know sugar is the worst thing for anxiety because it sets off the hormones. And so it's a chain reaction. We're not just talking about food here, we're talking about our hormones, and then we have to talk about movement and exercise. So that food that we eat not only affects our brain and our head, but we also have to look at our stomach and our gut, and that gut health and bacteria, because we can look healthy and fit on the outside, but on the inside, we don't know what's going on within our stomach and our gut. We need to have that healthy flora, that healthy bacteria within our stomach, because that is also been shown in studies that that's our second brain. That's where all of our triggers come from, not just our thoughts. It's the physical reactions to our thoughts or to what we perceive. So we need to correct that, because everybody's is different according to where we're at and how we got here. So it also is not, you might be living a very healthy life, but what you deem as healthy may not be actually healthy for your specific body type or for what's going on with you, or you might have something underlying that you don't know about. So I'm not here to actually tell you or give you a diet. I'm not here to give you any medical advice. I'm only giving you a guide as to what is good for anxiety, a guide from experience, and a guide for you to start doing your own research about what is good for you. And a lot of it is trial and error. Again, because, as I said before, what works for me may not work for you. And even though we're going to be working through 21 days, we need to learn discipline, which means you can't do something one day and not do it the next. We need to stick to a routine, because we know how volatile that anxiety is. So if we look after our physical body, no matter what's going on in our brain, in our head, we are more grounded and we're more able to manage that anxiety if our physical body is in good condition, is it in a really healthy state. We don't have so many highs and lows. We have more medium like the pendulum doesn't swing too far away. It just sort of rocks slowly from side to side. And that's what we want. And we want to be able to catch those thoughts. We want to be able to catch the anxiety in its tracks and manage it from the start rather than letting it blow out of hand really quickly. So as I said, one thing we'll be talking about is food. We also need to look at self-care, because when you have anxiety, we need to look after ourselves. We need to take that time away from technology, because that in itself is disruptive for our own, the body circuits. It's disruptive because of the things that we see, the things that we read, the images. Just seeing somebody's name pop up could be a trigger. We need to give ourselves more downtime to process all that we have experienced throughout the day. Which leads me to something else as well, which I should have brought up in the beginning, but I didn't. I'm also an empath, which makes things so much worse. So this program is good for empaths and those that have anxiety, but it is good for everybody as a whole, because it's not just about taking on the energy of those around you, and learning to separate that energy from yours, but it's about looking after our body and mind as one. It's about helping ourselves move forward from our past. It's about changing the way we see ourselves, changing the way we look after ourselves, and changing what we want for ourselves. It's also about learning more about ourselves, because we're going to be doing some journaling as well. And I know some people, like myself, would say, journaling. No, I don't do journaling. But it's important to ask certain questions each day about what has triggered you and what your body needs. Because when you're in that moment, you need to get to the heart of what's going on. I know we're in that fight and flight moment where there's no understanding, you can't comprehend anything. But if we learn to listen and feel into our body, we can learn to then trust and understand and communicate with ourselves to be able to help ourselves, because no one can help us better than ourselves. So, getting back to the program, as I said, we'll have a quick half-an-hour call to start with. We then start on our 21 days of each day having something new to talk about. And the idea of doing it over 21 days is we don't want to leave it too long and don't want it to all drag out, because we want to get the information and we want to process it. We also only do one thing each day because we want to focus on that one thing, see how it sits within our body, see how it feels, and we want to begin to work with that before we start. If I gave you all these things in one day, you'd look at it and go, oh my God, where do I start? I'm overwhelmed. I can't do any of it. So if we work on just adding one thing each day, it's not so surmountable. We then go in again around day 10, day 11. We have another 30-minute chat and we talk about how things have been going, what's been working for you, what hasn't. And if we need to rejig this program a little bit more specifically for you, we will. And then we continue on that program, and at the end of the 21 days we get back together again and we chat again about how it's worked for you and what you've got out of it, and anything that we need to talk about, and just debrief as well. You'll also get 2 meditations to go with this that you can listen to as many times as you like to help you through this. So I've found this is a really good program to help me keep on track. It's not I have to admit, these things are not something that I do every day, but it's something that I'm working towards doing every day. Because like you, I'm human, and we we have a life and we do get sidetracked. We do have other things going on, and we don't always think of ourselves as being a priority. So this is really important to me to offer it to you as well, because for me, I need this just as much as you, as a reminder to keep myself on track. And when I'm doing this program with other people, not only does it help me be on track, but I learn from you as well as you learning from me. And I know it seems really hard, but we learn through connection. We learn through a sharing of experiences. And everybody has something to offer just by sharing their story. So I want to thank you for listening to me today. This has been a tough gig for me, especially because I know my kids sometimes watch my stuff, and for me to put this out there in front of them is really hard. So thank you for listening. I will put the link to this program in the comments. But as I said, it's 21 days. You'll get 3 30-minute calls with me, 21 days of I have to say that it is proven guidance, because these are the tools that I have found that work best for me. So you'll be armed with a toolkit that you can use whether you have anxiety, whether you're an empath and take on everybody's energy. You will learn how to take back control in your life and how to separate your energy from those around you, regardless of how you're feeling in your life, regardless of whether you have anxiety or an empath. And so for these 21 days plus the 3 calls, it's $333, and if needed, we can do that on a payment plan. But it's really something that comes from the heart, and it's really something that I myself are supporting this program because I think it's so worthwhile and it's really changed my life. And this has been many years in the making, and I have not wanted to rush this and bring this to you before it was ready, because I had to test it for myself. I can't bring something that's, yes, everybody spooks that this is good, but I needed to know that it works. I needed to know that it's good, because I can't pass on something that I haven't tried myself. So I'm walking the walk and talking the talk now. And I'm laying it all out here for you to share myself and what's part of me. So thank you for watching today. And if you have any questions or would like to reach out, post it on this thread here, or even just send me a Facebook message. Thank you for watching today, and have a wonderful day.